Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Matt Hatton, founding partner at technology analyst firm Transformer Insights, and I'm delighted to be interviewing IoT experts as part of the 2021 Virtual Things Conference. Today, I'm joined by Benjamin Guilloud of STMicroelectronics. Benjamin, hello, welcome.
Hi, Matt. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Pleasure. Can, first of all, you just give me a few words about who you are, what you do?
All right, so I'm Benjamin from STMicroelectronics indeed. I work in the microcontrollers division of ST, and I'm based in the south of France, near Aix-en-Provence. So my main responsibility deals with the latest system on chip called STM32WL that most probably we will talk about in this interview. And also I deal with any activity involved in, let's say, unlicensed sub-gigahertz applications.
Great. I do want to ask you about that that system on chip product. That sounds exciting, interesting. Tell me a little bit more about it.
Oh yeah, so actually we call this a system on chip because the LoRa enabled radio, which is actually multi-modulation enabled, is embedded on the same silicon die as the microcontroller architectural basis. Okay, and actually this is kind of a breakthrough on the market because we were the first in the world to announce this end of 2019 with the first version which is a single core based on ARM Cortex-M4, and end of 2020, so just 1 month ago, we've just introduced the latest version of it, which is a dual core version based on ARM Cortex-M4 and ARM Cortex-M0+, bringing advanced security features and much more flexibility also to end users.
Great. And multi-protocol supporting not just LoRaWAN.
Exactly, yeah. I've highlighted the multi-modulation capability because actually this means that, of course, LoRaWAN protocol can be enabled with this chip, but actually the other modulations can be used to target any other compatible protocols, such as, for example, Sigfox. And by the way, we provide users with a LoRaWAN stack in our ecosystem, a Sigfox stack as well in our ecosystem. And on a daily basis, we face customers who want to have their LoRaWAN stack implemented on the device itself, along with another protocol, such as a proprietary protocol based on GFSK modulation at the same time. And considering the fact that the architecture of the product is fully open, then device makers are totally free to implement whatever they want anytime onto it.
Good stuff. So the expectation is that helps with ecosystem, with nurturing an IoT ecosystem. Do you anticipate it'll make some good moves in that direction?
Exactly. We didn't want to provide, for example, dedicated, LoRaWAN dedicated part numbers. For example, whenever we introduce such chip, we ensured that end users could implement what they want into it. And actually, as mentioned, that's a real need that we face every day. LoRaWAN is great in order to have LP1 connectivity, but very often our customers need other kind of connectivity, and this framework of multiple connectivity is of paramount importance in the IoT world, actually.
Okay, good stuff. And security, that would be the other topic I think I'd raise when considering system on chip implementations. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, right. So actually there are two cores in the product, so M0+ and M4 from ARM. And there's a hardware isolation in between the two cores. So that means that, for example, customers can implement their protocol stack on the M0+ core, which is secured and, let's say, manages the security of the chip, and the applicative layers on the Cortex-M4. So that they can certify their protocol stack, lock the security, push their devices on the field, and even when the chips get on the field, if they want to update, for example, the application layers on the M4, they will be able to do so without needing to recertify the product because there's a hardware isolation in between the protocol stack, which is locked on the Cortex-M0+, and the applicative layers that have just been updated,
Okay, that's interesting. Now you mentioned there was the first version was end of 2019 and a new version came out 2020. You talk a little bit about what the upgrade was, what changes are made in
So
the
yeah,
more recent version.
indeed, the major change is architectural. So the first version was single core and based on ARM Cortex-M4. So that means that custom, and actually it's still on the market. Huh? We still provide both of the version. So on the first version, there is one core, ARM Cortex-M4. So users can decide to implement their protocol stack and the applicative layer managed by the same ARM Cortex-M4 core. And in the new version, so there is a dual core architecture, which provides users with more flexibility because they're able to isolate their code and they end up with some more flexibility in terms of security itself, because there are up to 6 levels of security to isolate whatever they want. Some of them, most of them want to protect the protocol stack from the applicative layer, for example. But actually, sometimes the customers want to protect, let's say, a metrology layer on the Cortex-M0 Plus or whatever other security critical firmware parts.
Fascinating stuff. Okay, we've zoomed in on your specific product. Let's zoom out a little bit and talk about the industry a bit wider. Developers, obviously you have a lot of interaction with the developer ecosystem. How do you see that at the moment, particularly related to LoRaWAN? Because obviously we're at the Things conference, so LoRaWAN is top of the agenda. So how do you see that that playing out?
So, you know, in STMicroelectronics, we are, of course, a chip provider. So our first role is to hit the market with super nice chips. And in such framework, STM32WL is a wonderful system on chip. But also, we provide a full ecosystem to help all our customers, all the users to end up with the concrete applications, because at the end of the day, that's what matters, you know. And in such framework, we have a whole ecosystem offer coming along with the chip called STM32Cube, providing some tools and software to help developers, such as, for example, the first tool that can be mentioned today could be STM32CubeMX, that can be used to configure the pinout of the chip, to trigger the clock tree synthesis, to generate some code automatically, which is super useful when you need to prototype in a fast way. Then we have STM32Cube IDE, which is a GCC-based IDE provided free of charge, actually, based on Atomic, that can be used by developers to develop their code. Then STM32Cube Monitor to ensure that our device, our users, can perform advanced RF testing. For example, when you want to test your LoRa commands, you are able to do this with the Cube Monitor. If you want to test all the other modulations in the chip, that's also feasible. And last but not least, we have also a tool called STM32Cube Programmer that can be used to flash the real devices after the manufacturing of the prototypes. On top of it, we have an embedded software package called STM32CubeWL, providing plenty of application examples, so some codes, you know, and 2 stacks inside it. A LoRaWAN stack fully certified for all region, and a Sigfox stack as well. Both of them are provided in source code format to ensure that our users can tweak the code if they want, or entirely benefiting from it. On top of this, I'd like also to mention the wonderful community of our partners as well, who can actually provide their own stack for STM32WL as well. That's why we have some external offer, for example, for wireless M-Bus with the Stack Force. And by the way, wireless M-Bus stack can be used over LoRaWAN, which is kind of fascinating. We have also some, I would say, Zeta Mesh protocol porting ongoing in China with Zi-Fi Sense, etc., etc.
Excellent. So an awful lot of tools there for bridging the gap, I guess, between the technology and the developer. Okay, let's zoom even further out. The LoRa market, the IoT market in general. 2020 was a strange year. How do you see 2020 playing out? Sorry, how do you see 2021 playing?
Yeah. For us, which is very nice with STM32WL, is that you can basically target any kind of vertical market in the way that they are currently defined by the LoRa Alliance, for example. So we see plenty of customers, for example, for utilities, so water metering, gas metering, electricity metering, and whatever the economic situation, these use cases will remain very practical and very useful. Same story with asset tracking. We meet some customers for this on a daily basis as well, but actually on the other vertical market as well. So smart home, smart agriculture, smart industry as well. I can guarantee that actually WL is able to touch all of these applicative frameworks. So from the STM32WL standpoint, at least 2021 seems still very, very promising.
Excellent. An upbeat perspective on what's going to be happening this year. That's good to hear. Yeah. With that note, or rather on that note, Benjamin, thank you very much for your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Matt.